right, welcome to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake, and joined with me, as always, is the brewing sailor, Brendan Smith,
Good morning, everybody.
and Mr. Chad Womack from the Electric Jellyfish Podcast.
Good morning, folks. Good to see you.
It's just us three for this particular episode. Jimmy Alford is off doing other things, but we'll be back for the next podcast. So, for those of you watching, you get a little bit of a treat. This week is AllCon, our favorite convention in Dallas, where we always do a panel. And of course, we now run the game room. So we decided that that our panel discussion, which is centered on games with the best replay value from the last 30 years, we're going to be talking a little bit about that during this podcast in case you couldn't make it to the convention in person and be a part of our panel the couple of days that we're doing it. And it gives us a chance to talk more about some of these games over the course of 90 minutes versus a 45-minute panel. So stick around. We're going to be talking about our favorite games, why they're still great. And if you've never tried some of these games, why you should go and try them. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do, we got to get a couple of quick movie reviews out of the way. Things to check out. So the first one I'm going to hit is the cheesy ripoff of Predator, which is on Netflix. Alan Ritchson, aka Jack Reacher, stars in War Machine. It is a fun-loving army action movie about army rangers who have to fight alien robots. And I know what you're thinking. That already sounds terrible, but it's actually kind of a fun movie in a B quality fare. That's how
a classic 80s, 90s B action movie that was fun on the weekend, but you didn't admit to your friends that you actually liked it.
Right.
Gotcha.
And the best part is you're not wasting $20 at the movie theater plus food and all that to watch this movie because it's free on Netflix. So I will say it right here and there. I gave it a 6 because, again, it was adequate enough. It was fun. Alan Ritchson kicks butt in this movie. And the camaraderie among the Rangers and everything, it was sufficient enough to entertain me for 2 hours. Does Dennis Quaid as the Sergeant Major sound a little too much like General Hawk from the G.I. Joe movies? Yes. But who cares?
Stereotype. It's a stereotype character.
Is the plot lacking originality? Absolutely. But if you just want to watch a fun action movie where shit gets blown up, where you get to have military guys try to figure out how to defeat a superior enemy without actual live ammo, then this is your movie. And so it was fun. That's why I don't rip it apart and say it's absolutely terrible. And you know what? It's not like Predator was the greatest movie ever made. It is just a fun action movie with a lot of great one-liners. I mean, so sometimes that's all you really need. So if you're looking for a couple of hours just to kill some time, watch something in the background, be lazy, go ahead and check it out. If nothing else, it is the greatest recruiting tool for the Army Ranger Corps. It will do for the Army Ranger Corps what Top Gun did for the Navy. So there is that. And 2, it will get you excited for Jack Reacher season 4. Because in a lot of ways, I feel like the movie is one big flashback scene of Jack Reacher when he was still in the military, just kicking butt. And, if you're a Jack Reacher fan, that's the best part is him kicking everybody's ass in that series. So there you go.
This is done by 2 different studios, all right? This is on Netflix, and Reacher is on Amazon.
Right.
What a shame. What a shame. That would have been great crossover potential.
I know.
I wouldn't put it past them, though, to put some kind of a subtle, nudge and a wink in Reacher.
Here's the worst tragedy about Amazon and Netflix owning different properties within the same universe. We will never get
the Lincoln Lawyer
Brosh crossover that we deserve. And in fact, if you haven't watched season 4 of Lincoln Lawyer, which to me was the best season so far, we can't have Titus Welliver come over and actually be his half brother from the books. But no, we have to gender swap and introduce a new character that's his half sister. I know. It's just, I'm sure it'll be fine, but it's like the only time, and I posted this picture in our chat. The only crossover we'll ever get is when the two productions were side by side and then ended up having lunch together like a couple of years ago. And
And please don't take my moan of disgust as a sign of misogyny. I don't like it when they gender swap it, no matter which way it goes. I just no.
well,
It just itches
well,
me.
they're gonna have they brought in Colby Smulders to play basically his half sister.
I
And
mean, you don't want to see Pedro Pascal as Joan of Arc?
No, no, I don't.
Let's just figure they're casting it on everything lately.
Oh shit.
let's not say things like that out loud because I'm sure
Might give
listening
somebody
like, we
ideas.
have an idea.
Shit.
What's
It's like last year I went to the movies and I'm looking at the marquee and I'm like, there's a Pedro Pascal movie and a Pedro Pascal movie. There's this is this is what it was like the first time somebody walked out of a Starbucks and saw another Starbucks across the street, isn't it?
Right. So anyway, the embargo is up at the time of this recording. So yes, I can do a quick review on Project Hail Mary. Had a chance to see it a few last week at a very early press screening. I am not going to jump on the bandwagon and say it's the movie of the year. It is a good movie. It is worth seeing. If you are a fan of the book, yes, go to the theater, check it out. Ryan Gosling does a great job. It is a fun space science movie. Um, you know, and I made the comment that it is up there with Interstellar and The Martian.
well, same author.
Right. But it's not as good as like The Martian, which I rewatched the other day. The Martian is just an incredible movie with a really great cast and stuff like that. But this one is mostly it's a Ryan Gosling vehicle. It's mostly him and dealing with the alien and figuring out the voice synthesizer so they can talk was really cool. I mean, it's charming. It's fun. I give it a good solid 8. It was a little bit long in some parts, but again, if you're a fan of the book, go see it. They did an incredible job, in with this movie, and it should be seen in IMAX. So, but if you're not, then this is something you feel like you can, wait to see on streaming or whatever, then definitely it's definitely worth renting when it hits digital. I did thoroughly enjoy it, but when I kind of roll my eyes when I start hearing critics at the beginning of the season, the beginning of the year. Oh my God, it's the greatest movie of the year. Like, first of all,
The year just
only
started.
we've had less than like 10 movies come out at this point in theaters. Okay. And it's not like the bar has been set real high. Okay. Let's see what we've had in theaters. We've had Scream 7, which should never have been made. The Bride, which is an extremely weird movie. Okay. Um, what else? Oh, Crime 101, the horrible ripoff of Heat. So you haven't set the bar real high with movies so far. So yes, in that sense, it is the greatest movie of the year so far.
Yeah. Because doesn't January, February tend to be the dumping ground?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you've had a lot of incredible movies, come out. Um, it's like slow your roll there.
Yeah.
Is this the
A bit
big
premature.
movie so far? Yes. And it is worth seeing in the theater. I'm not, I never read the book, so I don't have a lot to go on. I mean, compared to how accurate it is and all that. But I've heard a lot of critics who have read the book say that it's a faithful adaptation and all that. But it's also 2.5 hours long. And
And again, so is every other movie that comes out nowadays.
yeah, I just feel like they could have probably cut a little bit out of it, and it would have been fine. But hey, it's not as long and boring as Crime 101. Because, wow, if I ever have to watch that piece of shit ever again. Actually, I'd watch it if you could actually edit it down to 90 minutes, but whatever. But anyway, Project Hail Mary is coming out on the 20th. And yeah, it is definitely worth the price of a movie ticket.
Brendan, what the hell was that?
What?
You got all pixely over your lower region. Is something happening downstairs that we need to know
I got
about? Okay. I
We
just saw
need Jazz
pixels at
hands
the
to make
bottom.
sure everything's
Okay,
working
okay.
correctly.
I was like, my eyes just like, what the hell's he doing?
I don't know.
Nothing.
For a moment there, I thought you were going to do like the Chris.
I'll do the rest. Here, I'll do the rest of the podcast like this. Just keep comfy.
Brendan standing up, and for a moment, I thought he was going to be Chris Farley as the super fan doing the hula dance in front of Michael Jordan.
As long as he doesn't do a helicopter impression, we're good.
But anyway, I did very much enjoyed Project Hail Mary. I gave it an 8 out of 10. But yeah,
I didn't realize Crime 101 was a Heat ripoff because the trailer was so bad I didn't bother to watch it. I like Chris Hemsworth, I do, but I was just like, all right, he's playing a thief, but he's dressing like the transporter. Like, what is this?
I know. I really tore into that movie. It's I always rate things a little bit higher. I don't go all ape shit on movies.
Yeah, that's usually my job.
Yeah, and I actually gave it a 4. I was just like,
now I want to watch it out of curiosity.
Yeah,
morbid curiosity.
Yeah, but like this might be, this might be so bad it's enjoyable.
Well,
just for pure, I can make fun of it.
Halle Berry is right. I mean, it's like, how do you waste such a great cast? That's the thing. And the funny part is, you have, so in Heat, and the reason I compare, obviously whoever wrote this movie was like, let's take every great crime movie and put it together, but it's really just going to be Heat because that's the greatest crime movie that's come out in 30 years, which I agree.
That just doesn't mean you should try and copy it.
No, but the best part of Heat is in the middle of the movie when you have the famous coffee scene between De Niro and Al Pacino. Okay, it calms the movie down. It humanizes everything. It's just them talking and the mutual respect they have for one another. It's great. So you try to copy that by having a discussion between the cop and the thief about Steve McQueen movies. And you don't even talk about the most important thief movie by Steve McQueen, The Thomas Crown Affair. You talk about like Great Escape and Bullet, and it's just like, that's your scene. We're just going to reminisce about what we love about Steve McQueen movies and not even talking about the important one. It's just 2.5 hours of ability, lack of. We'll throw in a high-speed chase here. It seems like Ryan Gosling and Drive, but we're going to make a reference to Bullet and how this scene in the past was like Bullet, which was not anywhere close. And it's all he's doing is just robbing jewels and blah blah blah. And we have a psycho other thief that makes no sense. It's like, who wrote that? I don't know if I'm more offended by who wrote this compared to who greenlit this movie and gave it a budget.
I understand exactly why. I understand exactly why it got greenlit. It got greenlit because of all the reasons you've already just listed, because it's a copy of other things that have worked, and therefore it is seen as safe, and it's something that can be redone. And why do you think a lot of these movies get redone? Because they are the movie theaters, or not movie theaters, excuse me, the movie studios are so risk averse these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
trying to figure out
I was having this discussion with other critics, especially it's like some of the younger critics about the greatest like crime movies. And another reason I think Rotten Tomatoes is such a bullshit organization, when I have younger critics who are Rotten Tomato approved but have never seen Heat or The Town and can't compare crime
Do
movies.
they know The Godfather exists?
Right. Have they, here's my level. If you're making a comparison of crime movies, it's bad enough if you've never seen Heat or The Town, okay? Because that's happened the last few years. But if you're a true critic and you don't know what Dog Day Afternoon is, then just stop what you're doing. Get out. You're and you're Rotten Tomatoes approved as a critic.
Your credibility is shot.
Right. You obviously fit a demographic that they're looking for instead of a middle-aged white guy who knows more about film. But whatever. Anyway, yeah, Crime 101, terrible movie. And yes, nobody should watch that garbage. In fact, when it hits digital, that will not be on my Plex server compared to Heat. And I went back and I watched Heat the next day after the press screening because the pacing is so perfect in that nearly 3 hour movie that it doesn't feel like 3 hours. Whereas Crime 101 was a huge slog. And um, Chris Hemsworth. I'm actually looking forward to you playing Thor again in probably what's going to be a crappy Avengers movie because at least you're better at that than this piece of shit movie. So, anyway, um, enough said about that. All right. Yes, Project Hail Mary, we're seeing in the theaters, and that is what's happening there.
Crime 101, not worth watching on your phone.
No, 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 no. Also, can we come up with a better title?
Well, actually, it's perfect because
It's pretty rudimentary.
Crime 101,
Mhm.
and you failed.
Yeah. Somebody needs to go back to filmmaking 101.
Well, the whole point is they think they're being slick because the thief only robs people along the 101 freeway in LA.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
Clever.
gonna have a double.
so the master thief only robs along a very specific corridor, narrowing the ability of the police to catch him faster.
Right. But mysteriously, only one cop, super cop at LAPD, has figured it out, and everybody else doesn't believe him. So you're saying the entire LAPD are a bunch of fucking morons except this one cop? Because
I mean, that's
a good-
probably the more plausible thing about the movie.
That's actually the most believable part about it.
But no, I'm kidding. I don't no, because like like maybe beat cops, but like if you got to detective, like you have to have basic observational skills, and you just like looking at a map. Hey, where are all these? This is here. This is here. This is here. Hey, these are all up and down the 101. Like I'm pretty sure if you have a pulse, you can figure that one out.
Right.
So yeah, no,
There's this thing called GPS where you can track things, but
yeah. Before that, we had maps.
Yeah. I mean, at least in the movie Heat, it was plausible that they were lucky to get to the bank robber because there was a CI. Okay.
Yeah.
At least in the movie Town, when they're robbing Fenway Park, which is cool, by the way. That's a great like crime scenario. It was kind of a lucky tip that got them there and stuff. At least you kind of make sense with the plot about how they're, going to be caught, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
because those writers actually understand writing and setup and payoff.
Hey, am I correct here? Is the sequel a prequel?
of Heat,
Yes.
it's supposed to two timelines. Like I guess when they all met each other and worked together, and then like what happened after Heat.
Because it seems like I've read that Bale is going to be playing the younger version of Val Kilmer's character.
Which is really weird because he's older now than what Val Kilmer was.
And they were both Batman. So
Well, that's okay. They're just cast Denzel Washington at 71 to play Hannibal, who was in his 30s when he brought elephants over the mountains and attacked Rome. So
Yeah, but it's Denzel Washington. I mean, it doesn't
Let's
how old
age is just a number.
yeah, he can do anything he wants. I mean,
We've
so
had 30-year-olds playing high school students for centuries, it seems.
I mean, you speed up the camera when he's playing the equalizer, and then you just shy away when he has to catch his breath because he's an old man now.
He punches like the Flash, and then they get him off camera, and he's like, "Give me my mask! Give me my mask!"
Hey, here's the thing. I'll watch any Denzel Washington movie. He is going to be
Except Gladiator 2. Except Gladiator.
no. I actually liked Gladiator 2. I don't know why everyone's complaining about that movie. I mean, is it as good as the first? No,
Not even close.
no. Hey, I'm sorry you hated it. I thought it was enjoyable.
I'm sorry I hated it too. I wanted to like it.
Hmm. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
that's okay. Just go watch Purple Rain again.
Here we go with this again.
Just it's your safe space when it comes to bad movies.
Are we saying Purple Rain's a bad movie now?
No, that's
Okay,
not what I
okay.
said. It's your safe space compared
safe.
to having to watch other bad movies. Mine's
It's your comfort food.
Oh, it is.
yeah.
He's standing in the corner, by the way.
I would never dare say that and have you try to come through this screen physically.
Yeah, because 3D would become 4D real fast.
Right. It'll be a flashback scene where we're, doing The Simpsons and I'm Bart and you're Homer and you're choking me.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here going, how the fuck did Chad become the lawnmower man?
By the way, still a fun movie years later. All right. All right. We got to move right along. So we're going to get to this week's Side of the Apocalypse, and I'm going to let Brendan take it away.
Are we talking about Project Helix? Or which one did you want me to attack? Because there's been like 6 this week.
Well, there's a lot of things, but we were delving into Microsoft.
Oh, okay. So just Xbox as a whole. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So Phil Spencer retires.
Yes.
Okay. Now we've all knew this was coming for a couple of years, and it was hinted it would happen later this year. The rumors are now that he was told you got to go. Okay. So he goes, and everybody assumes Sarah Bond's going to take over. Except nope, she's out too, which honestly, good riddance because she came up with that everything's an Xbox thing. And gee, if everything's an Xbox, why should we buy your console? And nobody did. So that's a problem. So she's gone too. So then they bring in what is the new CEO's name? It's Asha, CEO of Xbox. Is Asha Sharma. And Asha Sharma, do we think she's a gamer? Do we? I want to put a bet on that. Asha, her background is she has had roles at Meta, Instacart.
Instacart.
She is on the board of Home Depot. And she previously ran the Core AI product at Microsoft. Ironically, the exact division that has driven prices up on RAM and GPUs so much that neither Steam nor Microsoft are ready to announce the price of their next consoles because it's probably going to be over $1,000. So, yes, this is who we have now leading the dozens and dozens of Xbox fans that are left into the promised land. Shit.
So
But it gets worse. It's not done yet. They just announced Project Helix, their new console, their next-gen console, which is essentially going to be a PC in a box to go against the Steam machine. But it's going to be between $1,000 and $1,500, according to industry experts.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, that's 2 to 3 times the price of the average console generation for the last 3 or 4 generations. Now, here is what Xbox is doing. Okay, because at the same time they're going to release a $1,000 to $1,500 console, they're also testing a ad-based cloud streaming service. Now, I want you to focus on the ad-based bit, okay? Because you're going to have to watch 3 commercials just to get an hour of gameplay. Now, what happens if that hour of gameplay is up in the middle of a boss fight? Too bad, you're watching a Coca-Cola ad. Okay, right in the middle of a quick time event, press X. Nope, drink Coke. So this is what they are doing. Okay, they are trying to drive because Microsoft wants out of the console wars. So They are trying to drive the more casual Xbox gamer onto a cloud streaming service that is ad based. Maybe they'll have subscription tiers so that you can get better resolution, faster download times, no ads, things of that nature. That you can play on a smart TV with an Xbox controller. And they're trying to drive the more hardcore Xbox gamers into the PC market, because then you can just run a PC, because this is essentially going to be a PC in a box. Okay. So they don't have to make a console after Project Helix. This will be their last one. And for everybody that just got excited, and this is just all tied up into this, the old joke, don't question it, just consume product and get excited for next product. Okay. People were losing their minds that they announced Project Helix. We already knew it was in development. The project code name is most likely not going to be the name of the actual console. They announced absolutely no information about it. Okay. They just said Project Helix is coming. And people lost their minds. Over what? Information? You got a name, Project Helix.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you excited about? A system you already know is in development, is confirmed to be in development, but you got no information about it. Specs, price, capabilities, nothing.
Other than a code name.
Well, I'm going to make quick 3 points here. First of all, Xbox, fuck you. And second of all, you missed the point on being in the middle of a console war. Okay. Are you ever going to beat PlayStation? Probably not. But what you do is you push innovation. Okay. What did you do with the Xbox 360? Online gaming, digital stores. It pushed PlayStation to make a better project past the PS3. It also forced them to put a Blu-ray player, which made that a more family-friendly console at that time 20 years ago. All right. And the PS4 turned out to be one of the best consoles on the market because they had to, somehow beat and also lower the price compared to the next gen. Xbox One, still a good console. I mean, it was great in theory what they were trying to do and all that with trying to make it more family friendly. But, at the end of the day, the bread and butter of Xbox has always been making better hardware, okay, which pushes PlayStation to make better hardware. If you have that innovation, you don't get companies cheaping out to make shitty products with a high price tag. I mean, am I wrong?
No.
For 25 years, it's been a healthy going back and forth. And we did this article 5 years ago when it came to the console war. Yes, the Xbox Series X technically is better hardware than the PS5, but the PS5 had a better graphics card. Okay. Xbox also pushed the innovation by coming up with the Game Pass, okay, which made subscription gaming possible, okay, thus forcing PlayStation to make something better than what they were doing. And then you just completely shit the bed when you decided to make it, not affordable at 30 fucking dollars a month with shit that's on there and barely any day one, content. What has been the best day one game that they've had on Game Pass in the last few years? Probably the Indiana Jones game. Okay.
I agree.
The
I totally agree.
Call of Duty shit, and that's exactly what it is you're just trying to reboot Modern Warfare games that are really not that fun and then force everybody to play outside of an actual solo campaign. I had no business. Thanks to our gaming editor, Omri, this is the first Call of Duty game that I haven't even actually gone back to try and play because I'm not squatting up with a bunch of randos to get through a solo campaign. Fuck off. So, I mean, if your intent is you just don't really want to be in the console business anymore because it's too much money and you feel like you can make more money through software or developing games or whatever, okay, I get that. I'm not even completely pissed off about trying to make more of a PC. But when you start pricing people out of the market and you start forcing people to just, well, screw this, I'll just build my own gaming PC if I'm going to be forced to buy something and have better specs than what I can with this product that's you're going to overcharge with, then what's the point anymore? Get completely out of the gaming business.
Why do
Well,
I
that's
get
what
the
that's
feeling?
what that's
Why,
what they're doing.
why do I get the feeling here? Like the past couple of console generations with Microsoft, the whoever has been in charge, I guess it was Phil,
Yeah.
came off like the Incom CEO in Tron Legacy whenever Alan asked him, "So what are we giving our gamers for the money that they're paying?" And they literally did put another X on the box.
Yeah.
That's all they did. Xbox One X, Xbox Series X. I'm like, but have you what have you other than beef up the specs a
Look,
little bit?
Well,
How have you made it worth it?
look. So the day Xbox died, we just didn't realize it at the time. Although some people kind of had a clue. The day Xbox died was June 10th, 2013. June 10th, 2013 was the E3 where Sony's Jack Tretton came out on stage and absolutely lambasted Xbox for having DRM and a bunch of other poor decisions that nobody wanted. All those decisions are leading to this point here because if you look at the Xbox 360 versus the PS3, yeah, the PS3 won the console generation, but by 3 million units. It was 87 to 84 million. It was very, very close. The Xbox 360 was an awesome console, had massive sales, had massive games. It was a great system.
and
Everybody
that's
loved it.
despite all the controversy
And
with the red light of death, and then
the red ring of death at the beginning. But to their credit, they got that fixed quickly. I mean, and so but then you had all of those issues going into the Xbox One. Now let's look at the Xbox One versus the PS4 sales. PS4 sells 117 million copies. Xbox One sells 57 million. So now we're 2-1. Now we got the everything is an Xbox campaign, which I referenced a few minutes ago, where this is an Xbox and this is an Xbox. Your tablet's an Xbox. Your PC's an Xbox. Your phone's an Xbox. Yada yada yada. So there's no reason to buy an Xbox, and nobody has because in this generation, the PS5 has already sold 90 million units.
Yeah.
And the Xbox Series X and S, so they've got two consoles, have only sold 35 million units. So now we're at 3-1 in sales. So this is why they are trying to drive their hardcore base to PCs, and so they don't have to make a console anymore and drive their casual base to streaming service.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's not from a business standpoint, a terrible move. I get it. But my question is, what is going to force Sony to keep innovating, to keep making stuff better? How much?
Steam,
Maybe.
the Steam machine.
Yeah. But my question also is how the PS6, whenever that gets announced or whatever they try to do, how good is that going to be more than the PS5? Or is the PS6 first gen really just going to be slightly a little bit better than the PS5 Pro? How long is it going to take before I finally have to buy games for the PS5? Because one thing the PS5 did, the graphics card instantly made PS4 games look a little bit better and even play better to a standpoint. Um, the PS5 remasters are, yes, an incredible step forward, having gone back to play certain games. But again, I get back to what I don't know the word I'm looking for. What's going to really make you keep innovating, to keep making it bigger and better? And I don't know, maybe people going more to PC, that sort of thing versus a console. I guess maybe that's at the end of the way is going to do it. But when you're a family who's just trying to get a simple console for your kids without spending over $1,000, you're going to buy a console. That's the point.
Well, yeah, honestly, if you're going to buy a console that's not over $1,000 in the next PC generation, you're probably buying a Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. Because I won't be surprised if PlayStation's like it. I know the reason why the Steam Machine was already supposed to have come out. They've withheld it because of the AI driving the price of
Yeah.
GPUs and CPU and RAM. because they want to keep the price under 800. From what I've heard is they want to have, like, maybe the top end would be right at 1,000, but they want the bottom end to be 700 to 800, top end to be 900 to 1,000, because there's going to be two models, one with a 500 gig hard drive, the other with a 2 terabyte hard drive. But I wouldn't be surprised if PS6 is that price or higher, in lines with the Xbox. And so at that point, the main competition is Steam, and not just PC, but Steam, because what gamers are realizing is that Xbox and PlayStation and whoever else, they are very anti-consumer. EA is anti-consumer. Ubisoft is it. They all, like, I think the best analogy, and it's slightly different because it's coming from the TTRPG space, but a former Dungeons and Dragons developer said of Wizards and Hasbro that Hasbro does not look at the customer as a customer, as someone who they need to earn their money. Okay. They look at the customer as an impediment between the corporation and its money. They don't even view it as your money that they have to earn. They view it, it's their money already, and you should just be giving it to them. And I think that attitude is prevalent across the gaming world, whether it's TTRPGs or whether it's, actual video games, especially with these mega corporations like Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft, Ubisoft, EA, whoever you want to talk about, whether it's, I forget the other name of the big conglomerate that is out of like Sweden or something. But so yeah, that's what's going on here. And I think as the gamers who aren't just the families with kids, those are going to be driven to Nintendo. Nintendo's going to stay in that market. They're going to kill that market. They're going to love that market. They've been their bread and butter for 50 years. They're going to stay there. But everybody else, it's going high end and higher and higher and higher end, because that's what they have to sell to their investors and their shareholders and their board of directors. And it's going to drive all the players to Steam, because Steam is the most consumer friendly and protects the consumer.
Well, here's the other thing too to consider about the Nintendo Switch too. A lot of the bigger like RPG games or whatever, the Switch 2 can handle a lot of this stuff now. I thought it was kind of interesting that Resident Evil Requiem was going to be available on the Switch 2, and I'm like, you know what? I bet it would actually play very well there. You wouldn't really have any problems. It's not like trying to port some of these bigger RPGs like Skyrim or Witcher 3 on the first Switch, which just didn't have the processing power. So yeah, when you have something that's less than $600 that you can play some of these other games, then from a consumer standpoint for families who are not trying to spend an arm and a leg, I totally understand that. And I think you will get a lot more people buying the Switch 2 and doing a lot more of their gaming on there, which for them, I think they will pick up the slack a little bit that Microsoft is.
I think they're going to pick it up. I think they're going to pick it up considerably. I mean, I've seen reviews of Requiem on the Switch 2, and the reviews have been, for the most, from everything that I've seen, pleasantly surprised at the graphics fidelity of the Switch 2 port of Requiem. It's like, I didn't think this machine could handle it. It's handling it.
Yeah.
It's handling it very, very well. So,
well, I'll admit I've seen footage of like a village on the Switch 2, which looks amazing, and like I like the Switch 2.
I love the little thing. I'm a huge fan of it. And I honestly think that maybe that's where the true future of console gaming lies, is hybrid consoles like the Switch.
Yeah, Nintendo is gonna pick up that market share where they're not really having to compete so much. I mean, Sony is always going to be there. They're not going to give that up after 30 years.
No, and I really do think that's what the Portal has really been. It's been a long game experiment to see how a hybrid console for Sony would work.
Yeah. Which, makes sense with all the dumbass mistakes that Xbox has made. Hey, they went all guns blazing. They did great things for a long time. And I will still always credit Xbox of introducing the subscription-based gaming until you price people out of it.
Mm-hmm.
When $15 a month was a great subscription service when you can get everything that you were offering, little smaller games to try out, some day one games, and then EA Play, which, for a lot of people with these sports games, with smaller kids, you're not going to run out and buy the new Madden for $60 or whatever. You're going to wait till it's free on a subscription service. Um, that's a great thing. And I've always recommended to parents, if you're looking for something that's going to be more budget friendly, I would consider Xbox. But at this point, you know what? It is literally cheaper to get PlayStation Plus, their full catalog, and EA Play, uh, for about $5 less than what you would have to spend with Xbox. And you get a lot more better games with the PlayStation catalog. We've been saying that for a while now at this point. So uh, it's just sad for them more than anything else, because again, they've been able to compete, and now it
They don't
just
have any fight left in them. They
right.
just don't seem to have any fight left in them. It's like they're going the way of Sega and Atari.
Yeah. And
Well, they want to be
sunset is near.
They want to be the Netflix of gaming. That's what they want to be. They want to be. They want that cloud streaming service. And honestly, there's enough casual gamers out there. It might work. I think it's awful for gaming, but it might work.
Well, look, for the casual gamers that want that, if your internet connection is good enough, sure, whatever. But I will say say this again. Fuck you, Xbox, especially for the ad-based crap. Yeah, if you, I understand that part. If you need to introduce that, like every time you log back into a game, if you need to watch, 2 minutes of ads or whatever before you can start gaming, I sort of get that model. But then it has to be no more ads while you're playing. You see it at the beginning. Like every time I log into the ad service of Hulu or Peacock, there's ads at the beginning, but I don't get interrupted necessarily during the middle of something. Okay. But yeah, you pop up an ad in the middle of a big boss fight or an important thing, or when you're online gaming with friends.
Yeah, you're frozen while they're getting
Right,
scored.
you're squatting up in Fortnite. Sorry, we have to all take a break in the middle of this firefight. That could determine whether we win the round or not, because we have to watch an ad.
This ass kicking is brought to you by Norton Antivirus.
Right.
You wouldn't have to watch this. You wouldn't have to watch this ad if you had NordVPN.
Exactly. What they call it, the Knight's Tale of fonging. You have to get fonged.
Okay, I might need to take this part out, because again, Brendan's giving them bad ideas. That guy's got it. Yeah,
If you think
they've had the idea,
they already had this idea.
They've already thought of it.
Yeah, this shit's. Trust me, it's the whole point of that. Yeah, they had this idea 4 years ago. That just the technology wasn't there to implement it until today.
The shitstorm is brewing. We're just taking out the umbrella.
Yeah.
The worst part too is the innovation in developing like really good games, because we fight this every year. Is this game like worth playing, so to speak? So I'm going to kick off our segment. We got about a little less than an hour, so we're not going to get to every big game that's probably on our list, and this may be a part two of our conversation. But Resident Evil Requiem, Resident Evil 9 did come out a couple weeks ago. And I will say this. It's not the best of the Resident Evil games. It's been fun, but it's a very okay Resident Evil game. That's how I came down. I kind of gave it a 7, as I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed its callbacks to other games. The kind of split storylines, so to speak. But the biggest problem with the game, and this also leads me into why some of the other Resident Evil games are worth playing again, is one part of the story is all the horror elements that we love about Resident Evil, and then the other part is all zombie action that they tried to do with 5 and 6 that took away from Resident Evil.
That's where it lost me. That's where it lost me. That's why I've yet to try this sucker. As soon as I saw that in the trailer, I'm like, oh shit.
Well,
Here we
and
go
that's
again.
okay. So, like, I will say this because our gaming editor and Omri were having this discussion. The first part of the game, the first act, it is strictly horror. You're playing with the new character, Grace Ashcroft. Her connection to the universe is,
And you're in a claustrophobic mansion, which is where
right,
where this shit belongs.
exactly. It's great. The puzzles, sneaking around monsters, awesome. Then you get to Leon. And Leon is the action part of it where you're going back to Raccoon City. And I swear to God, it's like you ripped off skins from The Last of Us, trying to get around buildings and shoot
Mhm.
zombies. I'm not saying it's horrible, but it doesn't feel Resident Evil.
It doesn't feel Resident Evil. No, no.
Like,
Or it doesn't feel old school Resident Evil.
I played the first act and I'm like, oh man, this game is going to be like an 8 or a 9. And then I get to the second act, like, oh, it's not really.
We're back to 5 and 6. This is where I completely dropped off.
Yeah. The ending, I mean, it does pick back up. It just, I think you kind of missed the point. And this is why I have about 4 games that I think are really great to go back and play in the Resident Evil. So I'm going to start that conversation off with this. As I said, my overall grade was a 7. I think Requiem is okay. It's going to be a while before I go back and play it. It's just a very middle of the road. I mean, it kind of teeters on a 6. I didn't rate it as, I wasn't as savage about it compared to our gaming editor who's if the game sucks, he's just savage and he will call it out. But if it's an awesome, amazing game like Ghost of Tsushima, he'll sing its praises. There's no middle ground with Omri, our gaming editor, which is a good thing in a lot.
I kind of gathered that.
Yeah. I'm more of the middle ground. Like I understand what they're trying to do, but I'm not going to call this a great game. So the 4 games that I would always go back and play with Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2, which is actually my favorite because
my favorite as well.
You get to choose the storylines, and they did an amazing job with the remake. 3 is okay, but it feels more like DLC. 2
does. I agree.
It's also a very short, like 5 hours of your time. The remake of 4, and 4 is generally considered the best Resident Evil game. It's gothic, it's horror, it's good. And despite the president's daughter being annoying throughout the entire game, that doesn't take away from the overall experience. Very much enjoyed going back and playing that. But 7 and 8, them getting back to the actual horror elements of Resident Evil, introducing a new storyline that had callbacks to previous games, but it really was having to watch your supplies, really work the problems, and again, putting you kind of back in either a creepy house or a creepy mansion and trying to
a claustrophobic environment that felt like you can't get out of. Yeah.
And I love 8. 8 ended up being our game of the year that year because there wasn't really that much that came out. And that very gothic Transylvanian type mansion, even if the ending wasn't as good as past endings, getting there was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Having to kill like where
it's not about the destination, it's about the journey with that game.
Exactly. And it made it worth it. And I absolutely would go back and play that. I've gone back and played 7 a couple of times. So Requiem is like, well, we want it to be very nostalgic. We want to give you the horror elements that you've always loved, but we want to give you more action and have you kill zombies. I don't want to kill zombies. There's other games for that. This is not a zombie game.
It felt like a greatest hits compilation with 2 songs on it you just don't care for.
Exactly. It's fine to be nostalgic, okay, but go back to the elements that made this series great. All right.
And you were already there. You were already there with Village. I mean, it's just keep going with that formula because it's working. And no, we want to go back to 5 and 6 when people started hating it. That makes a lot of sense.
The other thing I'll say is I think we're kind of done with Leon now. Leon's character has been played out in the Resident Evil series, especially this one. it's time to kind of focus on new characters. And that's what made 7 and 8 really great is you introduce new characters, new lore that connects to the overall universe. Um, I don't need the nostalgia, and I certainly don't need to play Leon again after having gone back to play 4, which reminded me how much I love that game. You know, 2 has probably got the most replay value because choosing the two storylines that are just a little bit different that get you to the end is kind of cool. Figuring out the order of the things that finding the keys and all that, and the clues are a little bit different. So it's almost like double the fun when you go back and play that game. To me, it is. Does that feel that way to you when you go back and play, Chad?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Just the freedom of choice. And even though that you had that claustrophobic setting, there was a little bit more openness to that game,
Yeah.
but it wasn't so open that it was, sandbox level shit, which
Well,
you don't need in a survival horror game. You don't need a sandbox. You just
No.
don't.
And
It doesn't make sense.
right. In the best part of the journey of that game should be that claustrophobic, having to go back over
Right.
there.
Constant panic. It's like shit,
Right.
shit, shit, shit.
The sandbox aspect really is the underground bunker that opens it up a little bit, but even that's a little bit claustrophobic, especially
By
when
the
you're
way,
on the train. You know,
the constant anxiety of those games is exactly why I don't play them. I get that enough at work.
But with this anxiety, you can control it. And by the way, Brandon, I gotta say, I love the effect that the blinds are having on your shirt because when you sit at just the right angle, it looks like you're wearing light suspenders.
I know it really does.
I was like, there's an idea. Put an LED strip in a suspender.
Oh my God.
We have something.
See, now that gives me an idea. A mild-mannered bank manager has to fight his way out of a bridge.
He's Tron Banker.
I don't know.
It's like I heard this guy was doing he's a comedian. He was on a radio show and he was doing an impersonation of Jason Statham right in front of Jason Statham. And he had Jason Statham's dying laughing. He goes, I was imagine. He's like, Jason, his voice is so deep, it's so low. Sometimes you can't hear him. And I just imagine with all the movie jobs he does, where he's just an everyman worker, that they'll do one called The Librarian. Where he was like, I told you guys to be quiet.
Didn't they do that already on USA or whatever TNT?
Oh.
And Noah Wiley shit. Wasn't that called The Librarian?
Well, The Librarians, yes, but not. It was more fantastic.
Well,
but remake it with Statham is all I'm saying. Remake it with Statham.
I mean, segue here. Jason Statham pretty much is making the same movie over and over. Where he's a special forces secret agent in hiding and has to come out of hiding to kill bad guys. I'm like,
and you know what? I watch it every time.
I know. I
watch it every time.
I am not saying it's bad. Whether you call it the beekeeper, shelter, whatever, I don't care. Because it's Jason Statham.
The working man.
Yeah.
Hell, his character in Spy with what's her name? You know who I'm talking about?
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy. Yeah, he was the best part of that movie.
I can actually see an aspect where he's hiding out as a librarian, and now I kind of want to see it.
He should have been your Naked Gun dude, Ribbon. I completely.
He would have actually been really good at that. All right. Sideway, little theory though that I have. Every Jason Statham movie is just a Matrix simulation. We're training.
That works.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like that's the Matrix movie we should have got last time.
Good.
Wait, Neo's not the chosen one. It's really Jason Statham. And anyway,
it was right in front of us the whole time.
Yeah, well, I mean, according to the second Matrix, it was just a thing that happened over and over again. He was literally a glitch in the Matrix. Who said it has to be Keanu's face every time?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. All right, but anyway, yeah, getting back to Resident Evil. I don't know if I would ever go back and play 9. Maybe eventually one day. I'm just saying it's kind of very okay. But if you're talking about like replay value, 2, 4, 7, and 8 are really the best of the series. And I mean, 1 is always going to be a good one as well. Codename Veronica, I think that one's probably due for a remake as well.
Keep hearing it come up like it's next on the remake slate, but now they're going to do 1 again apparently.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd be okay with that because
I would too.
Yeah, one is still an amazing game, that kicks off everything, but it's just you can't keep relying on the legacy characters anymore. Eventually, you do have to move off, and that's what made 7 and 8, really good.
Hmm.
So, as I said, I kind of gave it a 7. Like, it's okay, but I wouldn't spend $70 on this game. I would,
Wasn't planning on it.
yeah. If you get a copy, wait till it's about 30 or whatever, or it ends up, on the PlayStation catalog or something like that. So, all right. So getting back to again our topic of games um, that have the best replay value uh, in the last 30 years, then you can always go back. So I mentioned Ghost of Tsushima, and last year we were talking about the Ghost of Yotai and its sequel compared to the first one. So we were in 2020, 6 years ago, we were very much the odd man out when it came to news outlets and people rating Game of the Year. Everybody fell in love with The Last of Us 2, despite it being controversial. And I think we were one of the very few to say, no, it's not really Game of the Year. It's an okay game, but that sequel is not as good as the first one for a lot of reasons. But have you tried this samurai game? Have you tried this story where you have to make a choice to get vengeance, let him go, all of that, and to really explore feudal Japan? Um, Chad, what do you love about this game?
The fact that every aspect of it is so incredibly satisfying.
Yeah,
It felt like, when you have to, undo the elastic in your waistband on Thanksgiving after you eat and sit down to watch the game. It's like, oh God, that was so fulfilling. And you pass out and take a nap. And you're halfway through the football game and you don't really care because you're still on a high.
yeah,
You're still on that tryptophan high. This game gives you that tryptophan high. Just the atmosphere. And I've never been so caught up in the ambience of a game that you are completely sucked in, completely enveloped by the score, by
yeah,
the visuals. Just everything was done meticulously. You could tell it was like watching the Pixar animators go to work on a movie like Brave. Like you could tell that they poured over every piece of source material that could feed into this thing and make it more authentic. It just feels so completely real.
yeah. I agree.
It's well written, it's balanced, it's well paced. Uh, the ending, no matter which way you go, feels like the right way. I can't say enough great things about Ghost.
Yeah, it's just an absolute incredible story. I mean, it's very for everybody that said that, Red Dead Redemption 2 was so cinematic, it should be a movie. I'm like, and I agree.
It should.
Like, I felt like this should be a movie. This is what we need, or a series.
Well, and it is. I mean, Chad Stahelski's working on it now. He's
Yeah,
that's going to be his follow up to Wick. I'm like, okay, if anybody
yeah,
can pull it off, I think that's the guy
I
to do.
agree. Brendan, did you ever get into this game? I know. Okay, so one of the PlayStation games you haven't gotten into over the last few years.
Yeah.
No, okay.
I think you'd love it. I can't imagine you not liking it at least.
It's just I have so little gaming time that
Yeah,
I understand. I
I'm
get that.
very,
completely.
very picky on what I spend my money on. Because I've got a backlog of games I haven't finished yet. And so it's hard for me to justify buying a game when I've got 6 games I haven't finished yet. And then I got sidetracked like a squirrel because I found out that some enterprising fans actually reconstituted Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning. And so now I'm building up my little goblin shaman again. So because I missed that character and I had a lot of fun playing that game, and it was sad that it went offline when it did. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think Tsushima is on the Plus library now. I think you can get it for nothing.
Oh,
I
it
think
is.
I think you can.
I mean,
Uh, yeah, but we canceled our subs. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Never mind then.
Well, hence why we talk about games that have a lot of great replay value or are, worth, going back to play. So I have this theory that, because we're all middle-aged guys, is, we approach that time in our life like we're going to be the first generation that retirement is going to be a lot of gaming. Like being able to go back and do things that we didn't get a chance to do. Like me, because I had that period where I wasn't really gaming, and I've spent summers going back and playing games that other people enjoy, like all the Halos, the Uncharteds, and whatnot. This will be a game for Brendan, like down the road. And, at some point he'll be like, man, you guys were right. And we'll be on like our third playthrough or whatever. Like, yeah. So
We'll have a
here's a good where we
Kurosawa Film
go.
Festival, and we'll play that after.
10 or 15-year anniversary of this game. That's when Brendan will finally get to it.
Maybe.
Um, but I have been pleasantly surprised out of all of the games that have come out in the last decade, how we've rated Game of the Year. Just truly, truly amazing. And I've gone through it a couple of times. It just completely caught us off guard how wonderful this game is. And then it was just a little bit more disappointing when Ghost of the Yotai didn't really measure up. Like, it's
And see,
okay.
I've got no problem with Yotai. To me, it feels like a natural progression.
Um,
But I haven't finished it. I'm still playing that one.
Yeah, it's just its connection to it and how they also explain Jen. I've enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. It's an okay game compared to a great game. That's how I look at it. Again, I wasn't as savage about the game as our gaming editor, and I get his disappointment when you've got a game that's at this level, like, oh my gosh, the most amazing thing ever, and then you've got one that doesn't really measure up. It's not going to be as good. And then the story of the original character that you're connecting to is what they explain happens afterwards. Because I mean, the amazing thing about Ghost of Tsushima is you basically have to betray all your principles as a samurai in order to save your country. Okay, and you can't really go back to those principles. You have to make the ultimate sacrifice, which in a lot of ways you should be it is more heroic, but at the same time you also understand that you can't go back to the way things work because of how you had to betray that. Yeah, it's kind of like a Mandalorian when you take your helmet off and then you put it back on, and then
Right.
and hopefully they'll have we'll see if they explain that a little bit in the Mandalorian movie here in a couple of months. But anyway, but again, I just think that made the story so much better and what he was willing to sacrifice as a character for the overall story. So, good writing, unlike the Alkalite, where, you know, she's going to become a Sith Lord by sacrificing herself for her sister, because that's totally how that fucking thing works.
Oh, God. Also, I mean, it just that Leslie Hedlund. This could have been this week's Sign of the Apocalypse. Leslie Hedlund comes out this week saying that Yoda was going to be complicit in the cover up. And what did I tell you all when that scene dropped? I was like, they are either going to make Yoda looking competent because he can't see through Jedi Master nepotism's lies, or they're going to make him look less virtuous because he's going to be complicit in them.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. And I went on a rant about this a year ago about the deconstruction of our heroes. And it's a trope in Hollywood that has become as ubiquitous as it is tiresome and loathsome. And I'm just tired of it. And I'm so glad it got canceled. It's the best decision Disney's ever made was to not do something.
I know. Hey, you can have your heroes deal with PTSD and stuff like that. I get that. But you can't have them be such horrible people that takes them away from actually being a hero. That's one of the things I loved about Obi-Wan is like, he didn't go off and start committing horrific crimes while he was hiding out and he just went into hiding and kind of stayed away and then had to find purpose again that would lead him to what he's going to be for Luke. Unlike The Last Jedi, which I had a brief moment of insanity where I was going to kill my nephew. Fucking Christ. You don't have to make every one of your heroes anti-heroes. There can be anti-heroes, and then there can be straight-up heroes. That's why John Wayne movies always kind of worked, even though they might have always been the same. That's the one thing he understood.
Oh my God, Jason Statham is John Wayne.
Until they had John Wayne play
And
Genghis
I'm okay
Khan.
with that. Speaking of John Wayne, a little segue here. Sometimes we do that. Robert Carradine passed away here over a week ago, and people were talking about, some of his early movies. Besides Revenge of the Nerds, a publicist friend of ours, John Weldon, at WildWorks, brought up The Big Red One, which is a very underrated World War II movie with Lee Marvin. And I mean, yeah, young
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill was in that movie, Robert Carradine. And I'm like, that's a great, that really is a great movie. But my favorite, other than Revenge of the Nerds, Robert Carradine movie, and it's his actual very first film credit. You know what it is? John Wayne and the Cowboys. And that is a great movie where, yeah, your hero is not perfect and he knows it, but he is still the father figure they need. He is still the hero at the end of the day. And Bruce Stern is a great villain in that movie. All the elements you need to make a heroic film are there, and you don't take away from it. That's the thing that John Wayne knew with every one of his characters. So, I mean, the only time he actually played kind of a villain was the Genghis Khan movie that we'd like to forget?
The movie that wound up killing him, actually.
When did he do Genghis Khan? I thought that was done like in the 60s or something.
It was. But what the studio did was they shot it in the location where they were doing nuclear testing.
Oh, that's what gave him cancer, is what you're saying.
And in their infinite wisdom, wanted that soil brought back to the set, the studio lot.
Oh, okay.
So it would match up with what they'd shot on location.
Gotcha.
So they bring all this irradiated soil back to the studio. And it wasn't just John Wayne. A lot of people wound up dying from cancer from that.
Well,
But he was the most notable.
Fucking idiot.
Can you believe that? I mean, when I heard that, I'm like, that's got to be a myth. And I dug deep in. I'm like, oh, that happened.
that's not an internet conspiracy. Okay, interesting.
Oh wow, that's insane.
Were you not aware of that? Were you guys not aware of that?
No, I had never heard that.
I've never heard that story before.
Do a little digging on that, because I was like, you cannot be serious. You cannot tell me that people were actually that stupid, and they were.
No, they were. Hey,
which doesn't shock me at all.
If I've learned anything, never underestimate the stupidity of people.
This is true.
That's your biggest mistake. Some of them become Hollywood writers, and they write their power and the output. So,
others start out as hairdressers and become producers, which I will never.
We got to have a big giant mechanical spider.
Some started out as personal assistants to sexual predators and ended up ruining Star Wars.
That's true. My gosh! Wow.
Anyway, we digress. We
back to video games that we So, Brendan, since you haven't dived into Ghost of Tsushima or whatever, I'm gonna let you the next big game that is worth going back to play over the last 30 years. One of your favorites.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll go to the most obvious and most recent one, and that's Baldur's Gate 3, because it has 17,000 different permutations to its endings. The three of us could play that game and have three very, very different experiences, from the character we choose to play, whether race class combo, whether we play an origin character or a custom character, or you play the Dark Urge. You could, there is one. The game had so many trapdoor characters, where if you killed off an NPC, because you could kill off anybody in that game, that they would keep spawning. It would keep spawning other characters to fulfill the lines at necessary story points of the characters you've killed, so it didn't cut off quests. And there's one character that you can only meet if you've literally killed every NPC in Act 1. He spawns, he has 2 lines, and he helps you get to Act 2. And that's it. But you had to think about the planning that went into this by the devs. They had to think, how could gamers break this? And they went, somebody might try to kill everybody in Act 1. And they're like, somebody pushed back on that. Like, no, who's going to do that? Gamers. Yeah. And they went, yeah, you're right. How do we compare? And guess what? We know all of this because within a week of the game dropping, somebody had a video on freaking YouTube where they literally killed all of the NPCs in Act 1 and brought their corpses back to their camp and just had a pile of corpses in their camp. Okay? It took less than a week. So from the actual launch of the game. So yeah, there's so many different
Never
ways.
underestimate them. Never underestimate the ambition of a board gamer.
Like have just the different ways you can play this game. Now, I'm a very basic gamer. When it comes to gaming, I'm basic bitch. Okay, I'll be the first one to admit that I'm not a very good gamer. I just enjoy it. Okay. I play on easy mode because I like the story. And by the way, I'm also not one of these guys that says every game should have difficulty modes. No, I fully believe that there is a market out there for people who want to play games that are only hard and have a very strong difficulty curve, and you get a real sense of accomplishment from beating that game. That's fantastic. Those gamers should be serviced. I love that From Software exists, and I'm not ever going to bitch about that. I think every market of gaming should have games that service them as long as it's profitable, and obviously From Software has shown it's very profitable. So, but I'm a basic bitch gamer. I like playing on easy mode. Okay. I attacked the goblin camp very straightforward. I just went in, I killed things and, looted their bodies and hooray. Now, some genius collected every explosive barrel in Act 1, spread them throughout the goblin camp. He went in, made friends so he could go in there and not be attacked immediately, spread them throughout the entire goblin camp, got up on a ledge, threw an alchemist fire, and watched it all explode, killing every single goblin in the goblin camp at the same time. But then this enterprising genius went one step forward. He recorded all of it, edited it, and set it to Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's fantastic. Okay, you can look this up.
I'm going to now.
I think the guy's name is Okoyo, OKY, or something like that. Anyway, it's been a while since I've watched it, but it is fantastic. And you can just if you're paying attention, if you have it up loud enough, through the cannon fire in the overture of the 1812 overture, you can hear goblins screaming as they get blown up. So yeah, so the most replayable game I have ever played in my life is Baldur's Gate 3 because I have 8 different playthroughs of it right now, and all of them I've had different conversations. I've found new things that I missed in the previous 7 playthroughs. I've met new characters because I maybe killed this one when I didn't kill that one last time. It is the most insane game, and Larian has ensured that the game will live on for a very long time with even more replayability. Because unlike doing what a lot of PC games do and locking their mods behind a paywall, if you want to be able to mod the games, you've got to pay for it. They just opened up the entire core code of the game and said, "Okay, modders, have at it." There is a mod being built right now that's an entire campaign to go to Menzoberranzan, the city of the Dark Elves. There's an entire mod being done for Waterdeep right now. Like these are literal entire full games with voice acting and scripts and things of that nature that are being done by fans right now. This game's going to go on for years and years and years. And if we look at it, this is a single player game, right? Steam charts, Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, this is a game that came out 3 years ago now. It's a single player game. This is not a multiplayer game. Right now, there's 67,742 people playing Baldur's Gate 3 as we speak. Okay, the 24-hour peak is 73,650. There are games coming out this past month that can't hit those numbers. And they're online games, multiplayer games, which are supposed to have a lot of players. And a game that came out 3 years ago now, is doing better numbers, and it's a single player game.
Well, here's really the genius of this game. You don't have to come out with a new game for 10, 15 years because of the repay. You can keep going back to it, the mods and stuff like that.
Don't worry, Hasbro will.
I know, and
they're doing a show which is going to be awful. Oh my gosh,
I know, but that again, this is why we're always fond of saying at that nerd show, the best stories are the ones you play.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of being able to play it. Uh, that's why I'll bring up one of my favorites. I do like The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. Okay. Recently went back and played the PS5 versions. And I started doing that with the series because playing it along with the series was an interesting experience, especially for the first game. But, for everybody that was complaining about the 7 episodes of The Last of Us, season two, like you're only playing a third of that game. You haven't really gotten to everything. You haven't gotten to the different perspectives and whatnot. But and I had a discussion with one of my critics friends who does not play video games. It's like you're not a fan of the series, but you also haven't played the games. You haven't had that experience of having to do everything. Okay. Sometimes it's just too hard to capture that in a series. And as much as the Tomb Raider series on Amazon might be good, I know it's never going to be as good as my enjoyment of going back and playing all the Tomb Raider games. And I think we can all agree that watching the Witcher series this is definitely not as good, especially now, as going back and playing Witcher 3. So,
Dollar store Thor has become great value Geralt.
oh my God. I know so many people that couldn't finish 4 and have I think
Never bother to start.
yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to be professional, guys. I got halfway through it. I tried. And then I had to go on and watch screeners for other things that were good. But anyway, but like I said, I mean, The Last of Us, I think there's a lot of replayability to that. And I think when they did the remastered versions for PS5, it was a good time to go back and play. And I mean, the first game, which I think is an amazing story, um, and that's where your zombies should be, not in Resident Evil, by the way. Um, it played a lot better. It's gorgeous. You appreciate the story of Ellie and Joel a lot more. And I'm enjoying The Last of Us Part 2 for, what it is. I still think it's a good game. It's a good story, despite the controversy. And spoiler, if you haven't played the game, yes, Joel does get killed and he's only there in flashback scenes, but um certainly some replayability there. And again, all I'm saying is I think you get a better experience playing that game compared to the series. So to Brendan's point about a Baldur's Gate 3 series,
And it's even more, it's even going to be worse in Baldur's Gate 3 just because Baldur's Gate 3, because you can play it so many different ways, each playthrough is so intensely personal. That experience, you're now asking all of these players, these on Steam alone, not to mention however many played on PlayStation 5, but 875,000 people that played it on Steam. That was the peak. I'm sure it was more than that. I think some of the total sales was like 20 million or something, but might have been even more. But you're asking all these players who had these intensely unique personal experiences to then all agree on one canon ending of the game because the show is a direct sequel to the game.
yeah,
And are the voice actors going to be playing the characters? Because if not, then the voices are going to be different. And man, this show has just got flop written all over it.
yeah, I agree. Totally agree. No point in trying to do it, but uh, speaking of games that are worth going back to play, I like the fact that, and I'm not putting Starfield on that list at all, unless we're talking about the mod version that's a Star Wars universe.